So another incredible place that you visited, David, in Dolce Italia was Cinque Terre, which actually I hadn't really heard much about until I started looking into. And then I found out that there's thousands and thousands and thousands of tourists that are taking over these five beautiful little towns. What was
Hmm.
that experience like seeing, that overwhelming amount of people in such a small space?
Well, the Cinque Terre literally means five towns, five lands, and we went there, and it was my first visit, and we wanted to discover what the locals are feeling and how they're living, which we often do in our series. And we met up with several locals just to kind of experience how they're dealing with this influx of tourism and the pros and cons certainly. In one of the cities, Manarola, the town during the winter has 400 people, and in the summertime can explode to 10,000 people a day. And so there is the struggle with the locals of high rent people, locals that have properties, not wanting to rent the apartments out to locals, and there is this difficulty. But what's interesting is there's a young group there that are determined to retain the culture of their grandparents, their ancestors, because it was such a strong land and culture. And so they're making sure to find that balance. And it was an interesting experience for us to see how resilient these guys are and how committed they are to making tourism authentic and really making sure that they don't turn into a Disneyland where people come in and out, but forcing the tourists to experience their culture. And they've been successful in a lot of instances.
And I'm curious what will happen after this. I mean, right now it's starting to get a little warmer in Italy, and unfortunately, tourists just can't come into the country right now. So what do you think this impact will have these difficult months on the future of the Cinque Terre?
Well, I think the future of tourism, even in Milan and Venice and Rome, there will be a different type of tourism. I think a tourism that resembles maybe the 60s and 70s where, and I remember some of my first trips to Italy when, in 1974, 75, 76, my dad would go on the plane in a suit, and it was an experience. You went on the plane as, you got your Sunday best and you dressed up to go on the plane. And I think that is going to return where people go. And it is not a tourism that offers flights like Ryanair for 60 euros or 30 euros, from London to Venice. And you have these mass tourism, but rather it's going to be a tourism where people look forward to it and maybe go in smaller groups, and maybe the huge crowds that take away the experience will be diminished to bring more of a cultural kind of tourism.